Good evening, I'm Valerie Weller and I am here with SVUSD Unified, and we are talking about our overrides that are on the ballot. We've been asked to kind of provide some facts, and then we have a group of individuals here who are going to explain why they're supporting the SVUSD override. I'll start with introductions. We have Ken McGovern, our CFO, Dr. Eric Holmes, our superintendent.
Hello.
We have Carolyn Humphreys, our Mayor Pro Tem of Sierra Vista. Donald Lee, a board member with SVUSD. Les Orchakowski, an owner here at ACE. Barb Williams, a former governing board member and teacher, and current board member of the Education Foundation. Gail Murphy, also a board member of the Education Foundation. And Holly Sheriff, our vice president of our SVUSD Unified Governing Board. So we'll start with kind of the facts, and that Ken McGovern and Dr. Holmes will answer. So our first question is for Dr. Holmes. What are the long-term benefits the district expects from these overrides in terms of student safety, health, and overall school improvements?
Well, the purpose of the override has always been to enhance our district security, safety, as well as the health of our kids. We have been working for about a year and a half, 2 years, on a plan that we presented to the governing board to address some of the issues that we have found regarding safety, health, and security. We've also had an audit done by the company that we're currently using for Navigate 360, and they have given us additional information that we have used as part of the override request. So we think that in the future we will have a safer district. We will be able to provide our campuses with the latest in technology in terms of cameras and surveillance, as well as making sure that our kids and our parents can come to school each day and not have to worry about things of that nature. So that's the bottom line. We want to have a community where we're not having to worry about safety and security. It's part of everything that we do.
Thank you. Our next question is for Mr. McGovern. How much will the proposed overrides increase the property tax on an average homeowner in the district? Can you break down that cost for a typical value of $180,000 home?
Absolutely. So, as you know, there's two ballot initiatives. One is the maintenance and operation override, and that is $1.0633 per $100 of net valuation. The easiest way to get to what that will cost the average homeowner is to take the assessed value from the assessor's office, divide that by 1,000, and multiply it by 1.0633. The DAA, or the capital override, is 0.1294 per $100 of net valuation. So for an average home of $180,000 assessed value, the M&O will be $191.39 per year, and the DAA will be $23.29 per year, for a total of $214.68 per year. As a reminder, as we say all the time when we talk about this, assessed value is not market value. So the assessor's office will send you their little postcard letting you know what the assessed value is. And that is not going to be equal to what you can get on, say, Zillow or Home.com or Realtor.com. Those are going to be what the current market is. So it's very important to not equate the two.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Holmes, if the measures don't pass, what specific consequences will the district face in terms of safety, security upgrades, and staffing?
Well, we hope that it does pass, but we will certainly not be able to do many of the things that we have outlined in our plan. Again, our goal is to provide a safe and healthy campus for all of our students and staff. And we will be able to do some things that have a lower cost, but some of the bigger items that we have discussed, we may be able to do over a longer period of time, but we will certainly not be able to do all the things that we think we need to do in order to make sure that our campuses are safe. We will always work hard to make them as safe as possible, but we believe that this override will give us an advantage, and we want to take advantage of that.
Thank you. Mr. McGovern, what steps will be taken to ensure transparency and accountability for how the override funds are spent, and how will the community be kept informed of the use of these funds?
So the first thing everybody seems to think is, and it's true, that the M&O can go into the general M&O budget. But what we have discussed as a district is setting up separate funds to have the overrides, both the M&O and the district additional assistance, go into those separate funds. That way we can be accountable for the revenue and the expenditures that are coming in and going out of each of those for the override. Monthly statements then can easily be generated and presented at the governing board meeting at my normal financial update. That way, every month the public will know how these funds are how much has come in and definitely how much is going out. We will, of course, not share some sensitive information because we don't want the public to know what kind of vulnerabilities we have, but they will be included in the financials, just not pointed out in a detailed line item.
And I think we also have to take a look at the idea of transparency. And that is something that we believe in, because when we're talking about the public funds, we want to make sure that the public knows exactly what's going on. So we will be posting information. We will have a portion of our website that will be dedicated just to the override and to the items and the objectives of the override. And there will be information there so that anytime anyone in the public wants to find out what's going on or how much we've spent or some of the general overall topics or items that we've spent money on, that will be available to them just to go and take a look. So we want to make sure that people have access to that.
Nate, you've done this before with the last override, right? There was a website and there were banners put up as projects were done and completed, and
Correct.
anyone could just go online and see what was done and what the money was used for.
That's correct.
Right.
We want to follow that same model.
All right. Dr. Holmes, why is the district requesting additional security funding when the recent bond that Ms. Humphrey mentioned already included some security measures like new fencing and cameras?
Well, technology changes. And it's been 10 years since we started the conversation about the bond. And we are already in the second or third stage of replacing all of the laptops that the bond purchased for the district. The bond was for specific things, and which are different than what we're asking for here. There's some similarities in terms of cameras, but for the most part, what the bond purchased, that's not what we're looking for here. We're looking for more safety-related items, as well as staffing and making sure that we can maintain the healthy part of this whole process. I don't want folks to overlook the fact that we want to maintain our nurses, our counselors, our psychologists, our social workers, and to make sure that they are available no matter what happens in the future in our district, that they are available for our children. And so that's part of this process as well.
Thank you. And then the last question deals with some of the legalities of placing the bond on, or the overrides on the ballot. Mr. McGovern, can you clarify whether the district needed to collect signatures to place the overrides initiative on the ballot? And how was the decision to move forward with these measures made?
Yes, so as I mentioned at the last board meeting, the same thing is going to be said here. Arizona Revised Statutes 1541, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but I'll just list that so somebody can go there and read it, specifically grants governing boards of all districts in Arizona to place override items on the ballot without collecting signatures. This is similar to how a joint resolution with the legislature will put items on the ballot as well without collecting signatures. Signature collection is for voter initiatives. So this is different. School boards have the authority, and that's why we went ahead with the plan of asking the board to put these on the ballot. The specifics of that was June 18th. We had other meetings prior to, but the actual mechanics of putting them on there was a June 18th governing board meeting, duly agendized with 2 resolutions, which passed unanimously, that put the M&O and the DAA overrides on the ballot. And these were submitted to the county prior to the July 8th, 2024 deadline. But it wasn't just that one meeting that led up to, oh, here's our idea, let's put them on the ballot. It was the district developing a plan, having work sessions in open session with the governing board, and then we went ahead and placed those resolutions on the board agenda for a vote.
Thank you. So now we're going to open it up to our lovely panel, and you guys can discuss why you're choosing to support the ballot measures and maybe some highlights as to what's really kind of speaking to you and why you want to encourage our community. So whomever would like to jump in.
I'll jump.
Perfect, Barb.
I think I bring a kind of unique perspective in that I've been involved with the district since 1990 as a parent, as a teacher, as a board member. I taught in the district for 21 years. 5 of those years I was president of the Teachers Association. During that time, I learned that teachers are invaluable to what we do with our kids. Right now we're in competition with every school district in the country for good quality teachers. And we have spectacularly good teachers. I don't want to make it seem that I don't believe that, but I know it's getting harder and harder every year to attract teachers to fill every classroom. And so I think if we provide a more secure environment, teachers will worry less about their children's safety, their student safety. They'll also worry less about their own safety. And that relieves them to do the best possible job they can. So I think that is one reason I support it. There are lots of others, but that's one.
Does anybody have anything to add to that one?
I'll add to that. So coming from a law enforcement background and also an active shooter instructor, studies I've done and been involved with other school districts operating on their campuses, mental health usually is the beginning stages of a crisis on campus. And so to begin with, you start with prevention. So you need to prevent that. You need your behavioral health people to get involved. You need good resources. And then the next step is prevention. So you need to, I back up a little bit, deterrence. So you need a good, strong, safe campus that's going to deter somebody from getting on it, that's going to deter somebody from doing something bad on campus. And then you need a quick response, and that's kind of where security and armed guards come in to be able to respond quickly to stop any destruction, any loss of life. And when our community members, our parents, our teachers see that, it brings more community members to our community to want to go to that school, to want to bring their kids there, to want to develop businesses here. They feel more comfortable about that. So that's kind of one of the big reasons I support it. And there's many others.
I have a question about the cameras. Can I just ask questions?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
The cameras, are they going to be, they'll be in the schools? Are they going to be the ones that CCON can just tap into in the event that there's a threat or someone calls in a problem?
Yes.
Okay, oh great.
Currently, they have that capability now.
Right, that's
And we want to make sure that the camera systems that exist are the easiest ones to utilize for having the CCOM tap in.
okay.
And which is why we want to update some of our cameras.
Okay.
Okay, one thing I would like to add with regard to the security and the safety of the schools is that one of the things that speaks to me is that what kind of a community do we want to be? And do we want to be the one that wakes up one morning to find that something horrific has happened? Not somewhere else in the United States, but right here in Sierra Vista. And so do we want to be a Sandy Hook or a Uvalde or a Columbine High School? And I really felt that this particular budget override spoke to me in those terms, because I am very confident that those were very small American communities that didn't expect that that was going to befall them, but it did. And so I feel it's really incumbent upon our community and our voters to support this measure, these measures.
And I agree with everything that Gail and Donald have brought up. What I particularly particularly like about the 2 overrides is that it covers that spectrum, right? Every parent and student's worst nightmare is that active shooter situation. We see it all the time. And like you said, we can't just hope it's not going to happen here. We have to take proactive action. We just have to. But on a day-to-day basis, what I hear and what we've seen through our district-wide surveys is the biggest concerns of parents are bullying and student mental health needs. And teachers, it's student discipline and behaviors. And in my mind, those are really all tied to the same root problem. And the overrides address both ends of that spectrum because, as Donald pointed out, when you don't address those root problems, it can then turn into those horrific situations that we're trying to prevent, both whether it's a student acting out against others or internalizing that and taking actions that we don't want students to ever take. So it covers that full spectrum, and it provides both halves of what we need for our schools to be safe and healthy.
Yeah, balanced.
Yeah, Holly, what I hear is you're saying we're going to end up paying one way or another. We can pay
Yes.
this way proactively and stay ahead of it, or in a tragic way as the community suffers something devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not only those major tragedies that hit the news headlines, but there's smaller tragedies when, you know, students are struggling with mental health or just behavior, or you think about the time that teachers and educators spend trying to help students with these most basic needs that must be addressed if they're going to learn anything. If the teacher's going to be able to teach something, they can't constantly be dealing with these other problems that you have to address before you can get that student achievement that we're all looking for.
Exactly. I think one of the things that, as a parent of a teacher, and she went through Buena and everything, so she's a proud Buena graduate as well. But one of the things that is, when I volunteered in her classroom for many, many years, I picked up on a lot of things that I really was not aware of what really falls into the laps of the counselors and the school nurses. And just a few things about what has exponentially happened in this country with regard to the need for mental health. What's happened to our society, who knows? But often the counselors are the first line of defense, recognizing and addressing student mental health needs. Counselors provide daily, whole class, and individual classes, and they ensure students that are identified with a disability have access to those needed accommodations for their successful education. School nurses must work closely with the counselors, identifying the students who have deep-rooted mental health concerns. And they also address and manage attendance concerns. I never knew that. As well as meeting the needs of students diagnosed with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and diabetes. All of these dedicated school professionals need the tools, the training, the support to manage all of these things within our schools that many of us sitting here in, you know, common age groups, we never even think about when we went to school. You know, these were not big major things. The worst thing was a behavior problem in the school. Well, now I think we're seeing the link between that behavior problem and probably some mental health issues that these professionals have to now address.
We may have had to deal with duck and cover drills, but
Yes,
that's about it.
That's right.
But I do remember being in the classroom when 9/11 happened, and I remember how anxious our students were and how much their achievement dropped over a period of not just months, but a year or two. We have done valiant things in addressing the slowdowns that happened during COVID, but we still know that we teach anxious kids and that they need every support we can give them. It's a question a little bit like Ms. Humphrey said, you pay up front so you don't have to remediate later. You provide support at the start so you don't have kids that don't reach their full potential. And fear is a horrible inhibitor.
So we do know that the overrides will increase taxes. So Les, as a business owner, can you kind of outline why you're choosing to support it, knowing that your taxes are gonna increase?
I thought you'd never ask. So let's just back up a second. We've been here for 43 years. The community's been here longer than that. We have a terrific public school system that needs help and increasing help as times change and the technology changes. I've done the math, I've done numbers. I've asked, with Valerie's help, and we need to boil it down to what's in it for me or how much does it cost. And Dr. Holmes and Ken did a great job of explaining for a house. Public education is funded by property taxes, both residential and commercial. Sorry, my phone is ringing on my arm and I don't know why. The bottom line is the homeowners pay at a 10% ratio, commercial property taxes pay at a 16.5% ratio. So the ratio is higher based on the valuation of that assessed value, but also commercial properties are at a higher value. And I'll just say where our commercial property is in our shopping center and other rentals, what's it going to cost? I asked for a couple of facts and Valerie was really able to help. I'll just boil it down. Current enrollment, 4,245 students. A house that we talked about at the $180,000 value, it's gonna be 4 cents a year per student increase. 4 cents a student for that census. I'll bare my soul and tell you the property tax for the commercial properties is $1.68 more per year per student. You can do the math, do 4,245 times $1.68, and that's how much more my property taxes are gonna go up commercially. The 4 cents per the house will also go up for anybody owning 180,000, multiply it out. If you have a 360,000 assessed value, it's 8 cents. You can do the math at the 180. That to me is a great investment up front that says we've got safer teachers, safer staff when they come into work in the morning, safer volunteers. Thank you all who volunteer for the school district. Safer folks who are administering to investing not just today but for the future, the safety of our school district. And then the parents and grandparents who are trusting at those campuses that when they go in the morning that they have the best technology that they have the best trained psychologists that we can have, the best trained teachers that we can have, educators. We've got to have our kids safe because they don't want to be learning under stress. They want to be learning with positive experiences every single day that they can bring home. I've got 5 grandkids. I'm the grandpa. What'd you learn in school today? They know by now, they better have something to tell me what they learned in school today. So if it's just the numbers and you say, oh my gosh, you've seen the signs around town, you've seen people comment, no new taxes. It's not a new tax. It's the way we fund public education in the state of Arizona. It is the way we fund public education in the state of Arizona. There's a limit to the budget that we can have. We have to override that budget to get this thing done. If you haven't voted already and your ballot is at home or you're going the day of voting, it's 2 pages. If you get to vote on this override, I'm going to ask for your vote to support it. I can ask for your vote to support it. It's on the 2nd page. Don't think that it's in a different language. There's no kidding about this. It's on the 2nd page because of all the other initiatives. Vote for both of the spending, the maintenance and override increase and the district, I want to make sure I say the district additional assistance. There's 2 things to vote yes for and to make sure this thing comes to help us all. Again, 4 cents for a $180,000 house, 4 cents property tax increase per student. And then think about it a little bit. If the kids are more safe at school, the teachers are safer, the staff, the volunteers are more safe, more comfortable, however you want to say it, it could increase enrollment, but the fact that the cameras, the remodeling, the necessary locking systems, it doesn't matter if there's 4,245 kids there or there's X amount more that the schools can fill. I don't know where we are on census by how much more we have to, we're not talking about building another school, we're talking about making the school safer that we have now, more complete that we have now, and more up-to-date that we have now. I went to school when there was 1 million windows in school because we got to look outside. Today's schools don't get 1 million windows. That's not the way it works. Today's schools, I would like to know who's in my grandkid's school. And guess what? When my grandson forgets his badge in my truck and I go in and I get to get buzzed in, and it's funny. Oh, hi, Les. Oh, okay, let's go. I get to tell them who I am and why I'm here. That's the safety and security that we need in the schools today. Parents will thank us for it. The teachers will thank us for it. The staff will thank us for it. The controlled access is one of the things everybody needs. Again, back to the number. Can I sound any simpler? 4 cents for a homeowner, $180,000 house. I'm not going to ask you how much your house evaluation is. We just paid the property taxes. Again, commercial properties, I told you it's assessed at a higher percentage, but that is a great investment to spend it and get the school safer now. And I've already asked Valerie, I've asked Dr. Holmes, I've asked Ken, I said, how soon can we start it? And there's mechanisms in place. All we need is a positive outcome for the override that says it's going to go forward, and we can start the safety adding and the security aspects and the staffing, the people, the active people that can be watching our students and helping our students learn. So that's, if you have voted and you support it, I want to thank you. If you haven't voted yet, please vote yes for it. If you're going the day of November 5th next week, make sure you look at page 2 of the ballot. We've got to vote this in and get it in. If you go to the ballot and you say, I don't have it on it, you're not in the school district, so don't worry that. But if your ballot shows that you get to vote, please vote yes for it.
As a parent, I find what you said and the breakdown of it really heartwarming. And it's one of the reasons why people choose to live here. We are, our largest economic driver in this community is Fort Huachuca and federal employment and healthcare. And we are competing with other communities in Arizona and across the nation for people to choose to live and work here. And so as a parent, when I hear you say that, it's just like, yes, this is why I love Sierra Vista. This is why I want to live here and work here. This is why my husband chooses to work here. We have choices. But what it's going to take is to see the investment in what's most important to us, which is our children and our quality of life and raising happy, healthy, and productive kids, not only for my kids, but for everybody's children, and then your future workforce. You know, my kids have had jobs since they were 16. They work in this community, and we want them to be healthy and productive and contribute to our economy, to our workforce, to bring their families here, to fill these jobs that we need to thrive as a community and maintain our economy.
Right, and one of the ways to attract that talent is having good schools, because young families, the first thing they're gonna look at, a lot of them are looking at the schools, right? They don't care about the weather yet, they haven't gotten it down to the housing prices. How are the schools in that community? Which is why we've lost quite a number of people to Vail School District. They routinely pass their overrides, both O&M and infrastructure. But it also affects, you brought up Fort Huachuca, and I just thinking about, even though BRAC is not the threat that it was, we're not immune to mission poaching. We could lose service contracts, jobs, and one of the things the military looks at when they're considering a installation for a new mission or possible future missions is they look at the housing available, jobs available for spouses, but right up there at the top of the list is schools, the quality of schools, and they don't have a high school on post, so they look at Buena for Sierra Vista. And there's a huge impact. It's an investment in our community.
Absolutely. I agree, Carolyn, because as a military family, Bob was in the Army for 29 years, and one of the first things we had to do, we only got to live on post when we were stationed overseas. Every other time, we had to find a place to buy or rent. Number one question out of my mouth was, what's the best school district with the realtor we were working with? And that was paramount. So we may not have always lived in the newest subdivision or whatever, but we wanted to pick the very, very best that we could for our daughters. So that was always our first order of business. We also do know there are some military spouses and all that will not move as a nuclear family group because schools may not go. And I'm not saying not come to Sierra Vista, but it has happened in other communities that we've been there. Oh, the wife and kids, they're staying back because they were in XYZ school and this is where we wanted them to stay. And the other thing, when I worked on our previous hospital, one of the biggest things that we always had with recruiting doctors and healthcare professionals were they wanted to know what our schools were like. And, there were times when we could be very proud, and there'd be other times that they would get here and a couple of years later, they're gone. Yeah. And that was always a hardship because recruiting takes a lot of money. And we worked really hard at trying to bring in those kind of professionals. And not only healthcare, but they were also talking about, as you mentioned, community development and getting the larger corporations, the clean energy type, and we've got the perfect environment down here for that kind of stuff. So what we've really got to do is be able to prove that we have got these great schools, they're safe, and we do a great job with education.
Okay, I want to mention one more thing about the numbers. The way that my understanding is the way the override works, it's for 7 years, it sunsets down, and it's the 5th or 6th year, 6th and 7th year. So what happens between now and that 6th and 7th year is this investment's been made. It's been able to be maintained for those number of years. Things change in that 7 years, and we can't predict the future of what we need in 7 years from now, but we need these changes done now. We can't wait for census of enrollment to go up and hope there's more impact funds. We can't wait. This has to happen now. And it is not forever. The way the override works, it's a 7 year and a cliff or a sunset, but it's not like blindly saying, oh, we got to get everything fixed in 7 years. No, this is the part that it needs to be for the funding to make this happen for that time of period. So we've got to do it now.
Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely. So we've kind of covered the community impact, the cost. Is there any maybe final thoughts that anyone has that would kind of like to share before we bid adieu to our community?
So I guess kind of going off of some of the other comments, as a parent, you send your kid to school and you hope and you pray. And whether you get that text message that says they're in lockdown, you're worried, you're like, oh no, what's going on? You're waiting for information to come back. And so rather than hope and pray, this is where we're asking the community to invest. You see on social media or after an event's happened, they say, how could this happen? And why didn't the school do more to fix it?
Right.
And so this is actually the district asking for assistance to do more, to make our schools safer, to protect our kids, to protect our community. And so we're asking you to vote yes on this to help our community, help our school. I know I've seen several posts, Sierra Vista School District do better. Dr. Holmes was gracious enough to open up the district to Navigate 360 to come in and critique it, give them full access, which schools don't like to do. They don't like to know their weaknesses and what they may have wrong. And he did that to let us know our weaknesses and where we need to do better. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. I think my closing thoughts would be is that when we came together in 2016 and passed our bond measure, and we were so proud of our community to do that and to realize that, because we've not been successful in years past. But I do believe that these override measures are critical to protect our students, because just as in 2016, We did not predict a worldwide pandemic. And yet what we had put in place because of that bond measure, which was not the sole purpose of what we did back then, but it served us well. And we came through pretty well intact, both during lockdowns and then when kids had to go home because they had COVID and we were in that back and forth mode. That was just, it was a real symphony to kind of watch the way all of that worked so smoothly. So I do believe that these override measures are critical to protect our students, teachers, and staff members to other unforeseen events. And that's why my husband and I are voting for the overrides.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, the overrides are on the ballot. If you have your mail-in ballot, they are on the second page. There are 2 initiatives. You will only have them on your ballot if you live within Sierra Vista Unified. And then they'll also be, if you're choosing to vote in person and going to the polling locations, they will be on the ballot there. And if you'd like more information, you can go to our website, svusd68.org/overrides. And we have all the facts and figures, the numbers Mr. McGovern mentioned, a brief outline of Dr. Holmes's plan. That is all on our website, and anyone can access that at any time. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.